Greetings, travelers.
Greetings, travelers. It's Mark and Erika, and guess what is happening? It's Eerie and April.
Oh my gosh, what was that? That was
I am
Alien
desperately working
April.
on my opera career as a fallback if this
Oh,
whole paranormal podcast thing doesn't work out.
you've been hanging around Destiny Beard too long there.
There is no such thing. You shut your mouth. We are graced by that goddess.
That is true. That is true. She does all our fun, wonderful music. So
Yes, and
definitely
she's
visit
amazing.
destinybeard.com and listen to some wonderful songs. She's got a couple new ones out, which have been really nice. So
Yeah, and she's got some really cool stuff up and coming. But if you haven't gotten the Mothman that she wrote specifically for us,
yes,
you need to get that because it's amazing.
very, very good. And perfect song today for Sigurblot, which is
Ooh.
a Nordic holiday, a Nordic tradition. This is a you celebrate the beginning of summer. You address your prayer to your gods and goddesses and ancestors of your choice, and create a fire, and then put blood in your blot bowl, or you can replace it with an alcoholic beverage if you prefer. And
I
then,
do prefer. Thank you for asking.
and then sprinkle yourself with it, maybe some mean wine, cider, ale, blood, and then you put it on your altar. So good for you. And then feast, because
I am all about drinking, altars, and feasting. So this is a perfect holiday for me.
yeah, it's a great holiday, right? And then
Yes. But I think it's a good time of year for everybody to put their intentions because we've gotten past the first 3 months of the year. So, travelers, it's a really good idea for maybe today. Well, it's technically the 8th, which is also the eclipse we've been talking about.
yes. So if you haven't, gotten there, you've got to, well, this airs at 5 a.m. So you've got a few hours to make your travel plans, get there.
It airs on the 5th, so they got 3 days to get their
3 days
together.
3 days, get there, and if you're at a 97% or a 98% total, drive that extra little bit, get to that 100%. Come on. It's only happens once in a great while, once a lifetime for some people.
Exactly. So plan your feast, set your intentions for the year, get ready to celebrate the next 3 quarters of the amazing 2024, which hopefully will include lots of travels with us, and go see the eclipse. So we have some travel destinations, and if you need to, there is a Viking village in Gatlinburg. So if you need to go celebrate with the Vikings, there's Viking festivals. There's Renaissance festivals where there are turkey legs and mead, and you can get all of this out of the way at the same time. I love it. So
I love it. Now, we do have a guest today, Erika.
We do, and I'm super excited because how I met this person will be memorable forever. Mark, do you want to say how we met this person and who this person is, how I met this person?
How Erika met this person? Well, we were at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot conference, correct?
Yes.
And I've known this wonderful gentleman for a while, and he is amazing. He is a bundle of energy, and he is one of the greats when it comes to the field of Bigfoot, but all sorts of, he's with Outkast Paranormal, so he's with all sorts of strange and unusual, which is what we love doing here. We're all about the preternatural here. But when he met Erika, I was introducing him, and he immediately went in for the hug. And I think it took Erika by quite a surprise. And she still talks about that hug to this day, Ryan.
It was a damn good hug. I'm not going to lie. It was a damn good hug. And, I am a hugger, but I was very surprised because most people I meet are not huggers. But no, this particular human was absolutely a hugger. So
it was all in. So without further ado, let's welcome the great RPG himself, Ryan Golembeske. Yay!
Yay! Hello, beautiful people. It's so awesome to be on Eerie Travels. It's like one of the ones that I've always wanted to do, but I didn't want to beg, be like, hey, can you please get me on? No, everywhere I go, every gas station I go into with the kids, I go, you see this? I know the guy that wrote this book. I know this book, And hey, as far as the hug goes, I'm so sorry I cut you by surprise, but I think we live in a world where non-sexual touch has gone the way of the dodo, and we need to bring it back, because just that one hug, like you said, you're always going to remember, maybe not for the best reason, but mostly for the good reasons, because I genuinely wanted to share my energy with you. And thank you today for having me on to share more energy with,
Oh, no, the
everybody.
hug was amazing. I just was surprised, but surprise is not necessarily bad.
No.
I was
Okay,
just
good.
surprised, and I said that to Mark, and it did have a lasting impression. And we're really honored that you're on the podcast with us, because
Oh.
Mark absolutely adores you and is a total fanboy. So it'll be interesting yet again, audience, to see how Mark behaves himself, because we know how he does this with fans. But I became an instant fan because your
Oh.
energy is amazing, and I appreciate that. And I agree. But travelers, just be careful. Consent is a thing. Not that it's bad, but we are not condoning just running up to people and hugging them. I just have to put that disclaimer, because I adored it, but humans,
Feel free to run up and ask, though. And
Yes.
most of us will
Yeah.
be happy.
Yeah.
You can hug the crap out of me if you'd like. That's okay. That's okay.
All right.
I'm open to it.
Condone
And I
hugging.
love you guys' rapport too. It's really fun. It's really fun. It's playful.
The scary thing is it's genuine. This is just how we talk normally. So
Yeah,
Oh,
it
I
is.
love your relationship.
It's very weird. I'm very fortunate that Mark has let me come into this preternatural world with him, and thus far it's been pretty positive. I'm just waiting for X to show up on my doorstep, but that's a
yeah,
whole other topic.
that's another thing. And thank you for pointing out my books to your kids. And remember, I owe them $1 every time they move me to a top shelf. So that I show up a little better. So.
Listen, you give me some of those books. I'll do what I've done with all my friends who are authors. I go into Barnes and Noble. I go in. I find the first table that the door is, and I lay all the books there, do a display, and I actually stand there for a little bit and talk to people about it for the author. Like, dude, a guerrilla marketing is the best marketing, because that you feel so good because you've done everything. Not that you need any help. You're already in. The hardest part's getting in places.
Cracker Barrels nationwide.
Yes. I love it. When we walked in there, I was like, I'm Cracker Barrel famous. Yes. All right. But enough about us. Let's talk about you. Oh my gosh. You've been doing all kinds of paranormal stuff for or preternatural stuff, we like to call it.
Sure.
So what got you started in all this mess?
I was a military brat, so we moved around a lot. And when you're that guy, there's like, the smelly kid on the end of the totem pole, and then there's the new kid that gets picked on. So every time we'd move somewhere, I just have a lot of time to myself. Mom was a librarian. Dad loved to be out in the woods. So I was either in the woods or reading about stuff. And why are we drawn to this? Because there's an element of fear to it. And for two reasons. One, I don't know, I feel really alive after I go into a haunted house and come out. I feel better about myself and everything. But also, what if we could answer these questions? Why is this like not stuff in school that we're taught to at least like form some hypotheses and then go try to prove them? Because I would have been way more into school, way less time in the principal's office because I can't sit still, and way more like trying to learn. So I've just been fascinated since I was little. All the women in my family, they all see ghosts. They all have all this paranormal activity happening to them. So I just grew up with it kind of eating up a little bit of the RAM in the back of my head. I couldn't escape it, I guess, so to speak. And then, like I said, once I got that rush, once I ran into the field babysitting alone, I yelled up at the sky, "Aliens, if you're real, come get me." And then for about 5 seconds, I was brave. And then I ran as fast as I could into the house, under the covers in the bedroom. I don't know, I got hooked. And then I grew up watching Scooby-Doo, and you watch Scooby-Doo, and yeah, it's like, it's scary. And then you realize it's all this angry white guy who's the problem. But really, what does that mean? It's all in our heads for the most part, And that's intriguing, because then you're like, why am I scared? Who built these foundation of fear in me when there's really nothing to be afraid of? I'm the one feeding this. I'm feeding this crazy fire. So the goal has always been to like eliminate that fear. And then for my babies, it's thundering out. They got to go use the bathroom, and they can actually go and do it and not get stuck behind the toilet like I did when I was a kid, or just stay in my bed and pee my bed. If I could help with that, that would be absolutely amazing. And so, dude, we watch Damsel on Netflix. I'm showing them things. Either I'm like, trying out for this TLC show, Bad Dad, Good Bod, or some crazy show, or I'm truly preparing them to be more open-minded to the potential wonder of the world, But anyway, yeah, and I got lucky. I happened to make a career out of it. You know how it is. Life kind of bumps you in these directions, and the more passionate you are, the easier it is to kind of stay course, but you still get bumped. And and I got knocked into Bigfoot, and I did Finding Bigfoot, and that was like, just take a moment. What a wonderful time. Like for all of us that are into, whether you're Bigfoot, aliens, ghosts, like to spend time traveling the world, pursuing it in the best spots you can possibly go, meeting all the people that had genuine hair on the arm rise up, eyes dilate, experiences. I always say I got my PhD in Bigfooting, like on the road with Finding Bigfoot. And then after that, got cast in Expedition Bigfoot, kind of really got to the top. My brother and I had a show, Monster Brothers, which if you two haven't seen that, crack a beer open and, we've got a great origin story. We tried, but we were, in my opinion, we were ahead of our time. We thought you could have a show where you're hunting a monster, so that's your A plot. But the B plot is when we went home to pursue this great New England sea serpent, we found out our parents were getting close to divorce. Now, I don't know a bigger monster these days for any of us that come from a family. So then we began to pursue that as well. It was a very natural investigation that this energy that you see, like we just infused it in it. And then, yeah, it didn't go anywhere because they were like, you guys aren't famous. Nobody cares. Why would they care about you? And I'm like, then why has every single person we've shown this to fallen in love with our energy and who we are? You're telling me we can't have a show out there with that? And then anyway, that didn't happen. So instead of keeping filming and keep pursuing and keep pushing, which we would have worked out probably, we both went in our different directions. There's a bigger, funnier story about that, but I don't know if you're allowed to talk about drugs on this show, so I won't say it.
Talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. We
Right
get
when we came out of that
ratings, so I swear all fucking time. You can talk about whatever you want to.
So when we came out of our final meeting at Spike TV, where we thought we were going to sell it, this is how we met James Bobo Fay and how I became best buds with him, because Spike had wanted a pickup. They said, okay, we love you guys. Let's see a little bit more. And we're like, well, who's our people, right? Like you guys know, you travel. When we go and do Bigfoot and go something, whatever, yes, we take it serious. Yes, we're there together, but we also have a lot of fun. And that's what like nobody shows because everyone's trying to be taken so professional and whatnot.
Oh yeah, trying to be so serious. Yeah.
So serious. And I feel like that fails us because we're hiding. More people would be into this if they knew how much fun we were really having. And you can be a goofball and get shit done. I'm sorry. So a friend of my brother's, a guy named Jensen, he was an editor. My brother was an editor forever. Josh Golembeske, great dude, better than me. And he said, we got this guy, James Bobo Fay. He's perfect for you guys. He is you guys. You got to go. So I'd never met him at that point. And then he came down with Yams, which I'm sure you guys all from Yammers, the #1 rocker in the Bigfoot world. Yeah. And we met him at Mount Pinos, just north of LA in California. And we partied harder than I've ever partied on set. Like I would never do that again, but that was like the vibe. And we were all feeding off each other. We filmed the entire thing. We got it done. We did everything. And what happens when you party hard with people, which nobody wants to talk about? If you party hard and you make good memories, you don't end up fighting, you're bonded forever. Kind of like that hug. It just bonds you. And anyway, so we had a great time. And then our show didn't go. We came out of that meeting to go back to it. My other brother had made these cookies, called them Doom cookies. You can imagine what was in them, but he didn't tell us how powerful they were. So we walk out of this meeting and I'm heartbroken because I felt like, I failed my brother. I felt like this was our chance to save our parents' marriage. This was our chance to be, to live the dream life of traveling, looking for cryptids. Oh my God. And we failed. So we both take a cookie. We say, hey, we tried. We'll get back at it on Monday. Well, this gosh darn cookie was so powerful that it put my brother in bed for 2 days. It put me in bed for a day because I'm a little more jacked than he is. But we got destroyed, like doomed. Like you wouldn't give this to your worst enemy. Okay. Doomed. So that is like how our show ended. And we kind of went off on our own path, which is really funny. And obviously, Beau's show went. And he called me after that first season and was like, hey, listen, this is a grind. And we need your energy. We need that positivity, because when it gets down, that's when I get the most up. It's like, I don't know. I want to be a hero. I want to be better when everyone's down. Like that's when I come alive. And not that I'm not alive now, but that's when I really come alive. That's when people really need hugs. And I become very aware then. And I could keep rambling on it. Like we need diverse teams to do this, right? Yes. Like if I was to team up with you guys, I would never try to compete with the wealth of knowledge you have, right? That would be foolish, first of all, play Trivial Pursuit against you, although I'd love to do it once, but it would be silly.
You might want at least half of one of those cookies if you're going to play Trivial Pursuit against us.
That would be amazing. But we all need someone. And I'm more of like I'm a bridge and an observer. And I love everyone. I think everyone's wonderful and everyone's a delicious. My mom's a librarian, so I grew up reading books. And why do we
Yeah.
love books? It's not just the journey, it's the damn, yeah, like
Yeah.
exactly. It's the characters. So without rambling too much, it's just our team should be diverse. And even though we're all like, say, let's talk Bigfoot, but everyone has kind of a different angle on Bigfoot that they're currently pursuing. And if we could respect everyone as they travel that path to see if they can find anything else for maybe somebody even bigger and better to like dial in on, then we're just going to make so much more progress. So anyway, it's a big
I agree.
world.
We talk about that because one of the things we like on this show is we have our opinions. Mark has an opinion, I have an opinion. Very frequently they come together,
Yeah,
not that we talk about it in advance. They just come together as opinions. We have similar opinions. But
sure.
sometimes we don't agree on things. And the one thing that we found is that there is room for all of us here. The preternatural paranormal world is so gigantic, and
Yeah,
to decide to narrow a lane and that your opinion is the right opinion and only opinion is
yeah,
not fair. Like, we want all of our travelers who are listening to make up their own mind. There are travelers who are listening that go, I don't believe in aliens, and travelers that go, I don't believe in Bigfoot. And then there's what is the cryptids out there? What are they, right? That we
mhm,
keep seeing. And until we know, and I'm using quotations, know, because we've been able to truly research it, and like we do everything else in this world,
sure.
right? We research it, we go, this is what it is, this is what the cause of it is, this is
Hmm.
all the things. We're never going to be in a place, so to put those hard lines in, I agree. I think Mark agrees with me on this 100%. We don't do that. Like, make up your own mind, and also respect each other, because there is enough room for everyone. It
100%.
doesn't harm anyone. That's why we bolster other shows. We have people on, because we don't know everything. We have no idea. And having other opinions, I think, is vital in this world.
And you don't know who is going to inspire that one person that has the breakthrough. It could
Right.
be,
Yeah.
it could be either of you, it could be me. They could think we're idiots. It doesn't matter. Just listen, and then hopefully it inspires you to take that leap of faith and to investigate some things on your own. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Why people don't love their neighbors and the more radical characters are, the more like into it you are. I don't get. I
Yeah.
just don't get. Like that's the
Well,
richness of life and being human, the human condition.
yeah, I mean, we look at that. It's, we were at the Bigfoot conference in Georgia just last few weeks ago.
Yep.
And there's some people, it's a flesh and blood monkey. There's only a population of about 800 of them possible in the world and all this, and they've got it science figured out. And then
Yeah.
there's the other people. It's like, hey, I saw a weird flash of light before I saw it, and then it disappeared into a portal and all that. And the two of them would be like, yelling at each other. And we were just like, wait, you can both be right. There's more to this than meets the eye, and that's the whole point. That's why we like going with different teams and different experiencers and see what we get and all that. So, oh my gosh, so yeah, you started like at the top, right? You basically hit the ground running with finding Bigfoot and all that. Now you've had some recent projects that we had your good friend Stacy Brown on from
Mhm.
Outkast Paranormal as well, and you guys did some fun at the Conjuring House right before it changed hands and kind of
Yep.
became a little controversial again.
I just want to say at some point, RPG, because Mark's not going to say it, you need to invite me and Mark. We want to go on one of these journeys with Outcast Paranormal. We
Ooh.
absolutely
Oh yeah,
want to be a part of it. So
yeah,
please make sure you invite us, because
yeah.
we will be there.
Get
Done.
Marie and team to give us an invite, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, all good. Yeah. The Conjuring House. I mean, so military brat moved all around, but primarily lived in Rhode Island. So
Ah, that's how you knew about it. Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, kind of proud to be from Rhode Island in terms of the Conjuring House. But there are certain places you go in the world, as you guys know, and when you walk in, if you're even just a little bit aware of outside of yourself, which I know is very hard, we're all tucked into our phones and shoved up our own butts, but it's a magical place at the top of this hill. I mean, how do I describe it? Like, it just felt magical. Like there was something in the air, just the way the dust danced and the bugs and the light hit through the trees. I don't know. It felt like sacred ground. I've been, sometimes you're wandering through the woods and you come to a spot where there's all the pine trees and all the needles have fallen on the ground. So just the sound's different. It just absorbs the sound. And I always feel like I'm walking into Mother Nature's cathedral at that point, but it's another special place. And the Conjuring House is like that, you know, and for me, when I go into a haunted location, I don't want to know anything about it personally because my imagination is so powerful and I love to think. That's one thing. You guys figure out how to turn that off really well. Besides meditation, which is so hard to do, just sit. Just sit, Ryan. Just sit. It's like,
Oh,
oh
you're
my
not the
God.
only one. Trust me. I'm like and doing lists in
Yep.
my head. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be thinking about nothing.
Oh
And I
no,
can't.
I'm a crazy person. I've got all these voices going all the time. Why they
Yeah.
allow me out in public is amazing. But yeah, the Conjuring House, it's so I tried to know as little as possible so that I could have a genuine experience. And you know, there's a lot to talk about there, but I wanted to know what aren't people doing there in this house? Like what's not happening? And so one of them was and for me, okay, so I grew up on the East Coast, so we have cellars, which people don't know. That's the floor underneath the house, okay? And I grew up, you know, when I ran away from home that first time, I ran down to the basement and slept down there for months because, you know, the hell with my parents. So I have no problem with basements, but the Conjuring House basement, and if you know any of the stories, like
Yep.
for the viewers, the crooked neck woman, okay? So supposedly there was a woman that hung herself in the barn, and when they had turned this place into a daycare in the 80s, the kids were drawing what they saw on the desk, and they were drawing all this stuff. And if you look at these images, which it's straight out of a horror movie, it's these cute little drawings. And then there's these images of this woman in a white gown with this, obviously, it's like, why'd they get her neck wrong? You know, like what's up with she got boomerang neck? Well, the children were drawing what they see, just like cave art. People are drawing what they see, you know, Bigfoot, whatnot.
I just got the heebie-jeebies, the bent neck woman. That's the most
Oh, so
terrifying
mad.
episode. The
Yeah.
haunting Hill House is the bent neck woman.
Yeah. So she would walk by the window and the kids would be like, whatnot. Well, I'm like, great, great. This is wonderful. I'm going to sleep in the basement. So when I was there, I was like, let's go, let's rock it. So I put my cot right near the well. And for those viewers that don't know, like they have the well is actually inside the house, which, you know, I learned that day when I was there. Why is the well inside the house? Well, come to find out, people think we live in bad times, but back then, if somebody wanted your farm, they poisoned your well water, killed all your animals. Well, hopefully not too many because they want to steal those, kill your whole family, and then just move their family in. And then when they come around to count people, they're like, hey, what happened to the other family? Like, oh, they moved. I don't know.
Yeah.
So real psychotic like back then. So this well is inside the basement, cold as hell. And I'm like, well, I'll sleep right near it. As far as I'm concerned, growing up on horror movies, that's a portal to hell right there. So I'm going to be right near the portal to hell. The hell with it. Now, I was fine. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of a cooler because I want it to happen. And I feel like whatever's going on is aware that if they wink at me, I will then take that as an invite to continue pursuing. And outside of like harming me, like, yeah, if I'm in a place and they scratch my face and, you know, I will be like, I got you. I'm not supposed to be here. And I will respect, you know, I will be respectful and I will leave. But I slept down there and nothing. And apparently first person to sleep down the basement as far as anyone can remember outside of those kids at daycare. And I did it every night in a row. Okay. And I also slept down there with a young gentleman who that first night, he's on his cot and he's hearing voices behind his head. He had his hair pulled. Like I'm sleeping near the gate to hell, nothing. He's just in the hallway near the stairs and it's pulling his hair and everything. So what do I do the second night? Because he's like, I'll never sleep down there again. That's the craziest place I ever slept. He goes upstairs. I lay my cot right in that spot, right in that spot. And I say, listen, you can touch me. You know, you can't possess me or anything unless you're a beautiful ghost, you know. And but you're allowed to. You know, I'm giving permission. You will not be able to come with me afterwards. But in this moment, in this sanctuary for you, by all means, let's play. Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, because
Nothing.
it knew it couldn't get a rise out of you. It was exactly looking for a different type of energy. So,
I
and
was
that's
gonna ask that.
Yeah.
So here's
Yeah.
my thing is that I feel like from my empathic abilities with ghosts, right?
Yeah.
I tend to see their pictures or their movies. Like I don't hear them, like it's not an audible situation, but I can tell they're trying to communicate, right? And
Yep.
so one of my things is like a lot of times I go in and it's exactly what you said. They don't want you there, right? And
Sure.
so they're like, this is my space, whatever they're running through for whatever that means, right? So
Yeah.
I'm a lot like, nope. I mean, I feel sometimes there are other things that go on that are not ghosts. I'm going to say ghosts, not spirits, right? There's
Sure.
something else that happens. But when you go into these situations and stuff like that, do you ever go in and instantly go, no, I'm leaving? Like that feeling, because you're right, you said it magical. A lot of times I go, there is a lot of energy in this particular location, right?
Yeah.
There's energy, like you feel it. Now, I just go when I feel certain energy, I go, no, I'm leaving. Like this is not good. Like my nope. I'm going.
We're never gonna get Erika into the Conjuring house.
No,
There's
I'm not going into the
but
Conjuring house. But I also know a lot of that is because I perceive, and I have my own barriers, whatever, but I perceive very, very well. So it's very intense for me, especially because I feel like, so my first question is, have you ever gone to a space and then immediately went, I'm not staying here?
No,
Okay.
I
So
go
then,
toward it, but my connection isn't as strong, I would say, as yours.
okay. So then my follow-up question to
Mhm.
that is when you perceive that they go, like if you had been, because it's interesting that they were not interested in messing with you, because I feel like the Conjuring House, when you have something like that, where so many people have gone there for I'm going to say the evil of it, the negativity, because that's what I feel like. It's like
Yeah.
people go to that place because they're expecting the demon portal to hell that is supposedly a part of that location, right? For
Mhm.
lack of a better way of saying it. And not the religious aspect of that, but that's the way
Yeah.
people communicate it, right? Is that
Yep.
this has layers of negativity, right? Why do you think that you didn't run into that sort of situation? Do you think it's because of your attitude? Because I think there's so many layers. People go there
Sure.
expecting and put their energy of expecting this terrible, horrible, because nobody goes there going, I'm gonna have a great experience. I bet that Betnik lady would like to have some tea. Like I feel like
Yeah.
99% of the time that is not what people walk into those situations thinking.
Sure. I really believe we are very powerful electromagnetic beings that are completely untrained in our ability to affect environment, other people, and whatnot. So yeah, if you come in with this kind of energy that it's evil, 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 I feel like you're throwing your own version of gasoline on the fire there. And if you have enough people focused on that, so now you have a whole group, and it's scary, 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 I think it is possible to manifest incidences and make things happen. I really think, and the more frightened we are, or the more people like yourself who have a stronger connection to whatever we want to call the other side, it just amplifies that like big time. But that's why I started it with the Conjuring House, right? I could have gone right in about how scary it should have, but it is one of the most beautiful, spiritual like places I've ever been. It's magical. I mean, I don't know what to say. If you can, we should do a test, right? Take someone that knows nothing about this place and just go, hey, we're just going on a house tour.
yeah, this old historic home,
Old
and
historic with
There
great rich
was
history, you know?
there was a place that was doing that, wasn't it, Mark? Like we talked about this a little bit of taking people to a haunted location
Yeah,
without telling them it's a haunted location.
smart,
yeah, just
smart.
And I have to say, this has now amped me up even more to go on one of these things with you, because it would
yeah.
be
Oh,
interesting for me.
Wow.
I don't have necessarily, I don't go in going negative, but I perceive the intention of the energy that's in the space. That's how I'm
sure.
going to say it.
This is a monumental occurrence here because that's the first time I've heard Erika say, yes, I'm going to go to a place. So
Oh no, but I'm
Erika.
going with RPG, and we're going, and I don't
okay,
care if you
okay.
tell me anything about the place before we go into it. I think it would be interesting to see that balance, because Mark's very much like you as well. Like we haven't had the opportunity to go to a lot of quote unquote haunted places yet, because we've
Sure.
gone to some places that have things, and we have experienced things where like even we've been in a few graveyards and stuff, and we both like watched a person walking and we're like, yeah, did you see that? Yeah, I
Yep.
saw that.
And
It was-
then
That's
then I get her
awesome.
in the mushroom mines, and 5 minutes in, she's like, nope, I'm out.
that's
Oh.
because but that's not ghost related,
No.
honestly. That is because I was not
But
armed and going into a place where people have dropped bodies and we don't know what's down there. I'm like, no, I'm going to be armed if we're going into this location.
For
He's
sure.
like, oh, by the way, that's where they found the bodies. I'm like, what? I'm in my flip flops, and he's got a little handheld plastic lantern. I'm like, we're not doing this without further accoutrement to go into these places. But I would. That's really fascinating.
All right. On that note, we do have to take a break and get a word from our sponsors, but we will be right back, gang. So stay tuned. Greetings, travelers. Now available on Audible and other audiobook platforms, Eerie, Appalachia. Join us, won't you, as we discuss creatures like the Popelick Monster, the White Fangs, the Snallygaster, the Wampus Cat, the Lizard Man of Skateboard Swamp, Bunny Man Bridge, and the Ohio Grassman. All these creatures and more await you if you dare listen to Eerie, Appalachia, presented by Mark Muncy, History Press, and Four Horsemen Publishing.
Destiny Beard, the lyrical soprano who will haunt your dreams. With her alluring melodies and intricate harmonies, this dark siren of wistful song shall capture your soul and lead you into the night. Check out Destiny's new single, The Haunting Is Over, with international musicians Sam Haines and Gary Bennett, as well as her other musical works at destinybeard.com.
Eerie Travels visits Outkast Paranormal. I see it. It's a TV show. It's going to happen.
There you go. We're back. I'd do that. I'd watch that.
I would too.
I watch everything, but it's all good.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Outkast Paranormal. So how did that short version come into being?
Yeah, Outkast Paranormal, I was moving to Florida with my family, and I had, we had one kid, then another kid. Now we're having another kid, and it's just, I watched my time, my passion, my energy, my patience, everything just start to be depleted and go down. And so when I came to Florida, I was like, well, who do I link up with? Like, I need to work with somebody else because I don't have the time to do it. My brother, he lives in Colorado now. So what do we do? So Stacy and I had met actually on Finding Bigfoot, which was awesome. And I was like, well, I know him. And I know one thing about Stacy, love him or hate him, the dude's an engine. He does not stop. He will be producing, once he has passed away, he will have content coming out. So I needed to be with someone like that because I was becoming very aware that my time was very limited and sacred. So we linked up, and he, as you know, the falconer footage down in Mayaca, rather famous Bigfooting footage, a daytime sighting of something running through the tall grass, chasing what they believe was deer. It was spectacular. And then when Stacy and his team, because this is the dream of all of us to do this, something comes out and you're lucky enough for it to be fresh. And I mean, like, it came out today.
Yeah.
And then you are lucky enough to be able to travel and be first on the scene. Like, that's what I always wanted to start, was like a paranormal news show, basically, where we create this network. And the second something goes live, somebody's there. Like, somebody is there and we're communicating, and the whole public. Anyway, he shows up with his team, and they're there either the following weekend or the weekend after that. Well, for those of us that dive into this, usually when there's activity, it's like this 2 weeks of high strangeness that happens. And then, there's extreme versions more or less, but it's kind of like 2 weeks. So they come in at the tail end of that, and they go out to the part of Mayaca Park, which, you can walk anywhere in there, but you're not going to go over there. It's lions and tigers and bears, oh my, like to get out.
Mayaca's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. It's wonderful, but it's primal. So they went out to this like little isthmus, or it's not an island because it's connected, but you got to cross gator infested water, which we did in Skunk Cave Experiments. And anyway, they went out there, and it's like we're all there and we want the experience. But what's amazing is when it happens, you're not prepared. You're just not, because I think there's a part of us, even if you're a staunch believer, there's a part that doesn't believe, because the main populace does not. Most people do not, because they've been conditioned to not pay any attention to it, right? So they go out there and they do a fire line. They do just very basic stuff, right? If it's an animal, it's an animal. Fire line, and they push this skunk ape down the fire line, and Bill Brock, who is he's a veteran, he's grew up and lived in the woods. I mean, he's the guy you would want with the camera standing there.
Yep.
And it happened. And it's like, seeing a dragon, seeing God, seeing whatever it would be like so amazing to you that you fight, flight, or freeze, right? And he stood there with a camera and he just forgot to push play and it ran right into him and then shot in the bushes. And he had an oh shit moment, right? So they found it. They did it. If they would have got that footage, it would be
Yep.
the best footage, arguably, in the world of a relic
It would-
hominid.
It would
And
it would be
the
the
most
Patty
even-
film all
Yeah.
over times 10. Yeah.
like close up, bushes, boom, right in the camera, like, hey, you want beef jerky? And then it runs off. And they missed it. So we went back. And that's kind of where we started. We're like, well, let's go investigate that location, right? Because that has a history. People know about it. And we know that the one's been there. Most of the time we're all just hoping that we're in the migrational pattern or, they're living there, they're cohabitating there. But we knew that this was there. And something spooky about this, right? You like this area. What they don't talk about is when Falconer went out and looked around, did the initial investigation, there were pigs, fresh, healthy, young pigs, hobbled, one leg snapped so that they couldn't go very far. And how intelligent is that to basically catch the pig, hobble it so it can't go? Now you just have food. Whatever this was, if in my professional opinion, this was a juvenile squatch that struck out on their own, found the pimpest spot to be with all food, water, everything. And it was just having a grand old time out there, right? And like all of us, when we're young and foolish, we got caught. It got caught. And I think because right after it did that fire line and they ran into him, that it was gone. That after that, it all died down. So, that's kind of how we got started. So we wanted to go there and re-pick up that investigation and see if there's still activity going on in and around the area, which it's Mayaca, man. They're probably right. We could drive there right now and they're probably watching us. You know what I mean? Just checking it out. Because what do you have? You have everything they need to eat, everything they need to hide.
Yeah, one of my favorite things ever was I got called into Mayaca. There were a couple truck drivers had seen a flying humanoid, either a Mothman or a gargoyle or something they kept describing. I was trying to ask these guys, have you ever seen a cormorant? Do you know what a cormorant is? Because that's what they look like when they're flying, and no, these guys knew what a cormorant was. But we're out there and I'm out walking through the swamp with a guide because they're taking me to where these two campers had seen it. And I'm like, okay, so let's go out to this campsite. And me, 40-year-old epileptic, I'm like, no, because this was a decade ago. And then as we're walking out there, though, we're going out to that site and we're in the middle of nowhere. He's taking me on a shortcut. And sure enough, I see squatch prints. First time I've ever seen them in the wild myself. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm trying to call any person I know. I got Dave Sidoti and Dave got out there and that area, he's like, oh yeah, that area is, king of hotspots. And and then sure enough, the next day there was a controlled burn in that exact area. So I'm like,
I wonder why, right?
I can't imagine. So,
but for anyone that wants a Bigfoot experience, if you can find out when they're doing controlled burns, I would patrol the outskirts of where the burn is, and especially whatever direction it's pushing, you go wait on the far side of it. You're just going to see nature, which is always wonderful and arguably the best part, but you also may get lucky because there's enough stories of them being pushed out.
Because nothing else, you'll see some Florida panthers, which are rare enough.
And that's the scariest the big cats, the Wampus cat from North Carolina, any big cats, scary. That's because you're dead. You're dead before you even know what's happened. Or you know what? They snap your neck and you're laying there getting eaten alive with your eyes still open. No. Wear googly eyes on the back of your hat when you go in big cat territory. That's all I'm saying. But yes, that would be, I grew up, we all had like an animal on the wall. I had a black panther on the wall. That was just, it's the sexiest cat. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's habitat, man. That's beautiful habitat. Not only there, but we also, we went to the Crowley house, which has its own style of hauntings and whatnot. And we did some, I'm a citizen scientist, right? And I like to team up with other citizen scientists and do experiments. It's part of the fun. It's not it's the journey, right? It's not like you don't need to get the results. It's just the fact that, well, I could be at a bar getting drunk, trying to hook up, or I could be in the woods doing science, getting drunk, trying to hook up. Like it's a better choice to be out in the woods. And we had crazy things happen at that house. See, not to dive into this too much because you have your flesh and bone. And then they have woo. Our culture is very good at putting us in boxes, and then even though we are all dynamic animals, dynamic. We are capable of being interested in a variety of things and actually even being good at a variety of things. So in my opinion, what we're dealing with Bigfoot, it's layered, okay? Do I think there are flesh and bone relic hominids out there? Absolutely. I don't believe anything the Smithsonian or the history written by the victors, current victors. No, they're out there. They didn't just all die off. There is enough space for them to be out there, and we are kept ignorant enough and close enough to the fire, so to speak, for them to thrive right in our own backyards, you know? But there's that weird stuff that you're talking about, right? So yes, there are flesh and bone sites, but what about the incidences where they see them carrying a flame, apparently, or like a lantern in their hand? Or why are there all these orbs associated with them at the same time? You know, it's like there's some weird things going on that people that okay, so we're just supposed to dismiss those. Like, don't pay attention to those. Let's lock in the flesh and bone first, and then we'll get to that. Well, I had an aha moment. My brother, Cosmic Quintana, has a podcast. It actually just ended. It's so sad. So sad. It was one of my faves. But they had a gentleman on named Patrick Jackson, and Patrick Jackson is a reverse engineer and an IT specialist. And I just got to keep letting people know, because if you're ready to be more open-minded, this changed. I used to be really afraid when I went into these haunted houses and everything. I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm afraid like healthy dose, you know, but I'm not afraid anymore. He grew up in a town where they had a monk that would walk through like just the street in the middle of town, and you'd see it in the broad day and be like, oh yeah, that's just a ghost. He just comes through. Or you'd go into a shop and you'd be like, this is a cell phone shop, and it would be a felt hat shop, like from the 1800s, and you're like, what? And then you go outside and everything's back to normal. So whatever's going on there, right? Don't just dismiss it. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
But what he noticed was patterns, okay? So what I find fascinating is, so now what he believes is, as we know, we've all heard of the Foo Fighters, you know, we have documented evidence of orb-shaped things flying through planes, buildings, sky, everywhere, okay? Well, he said, why is it that when you go into like a French castle, the ghosts will speak English to you if you're English? Like, that's really bizarre, right? And why, if you really begin to collect their stories, why does it seem like it's basically the same thing that happens every time? If you really get the person to just calm down and tell it, it's like the same things happen over and over. It's like it's a loop.
Yeah.
It's looping, right? So he went, no, this is technology. So not to go too deep in, it's called Quantum Paranormal by Patrick Jackson. It's knocked me on a new path. So try and respect me on my new path if you can. And if you can't, beat me up on the chat line. It's all good. It's all good. Get it out of you.
Is this a book or is this just his theory?
It's a book.
It's a book.
It's a book.
Well, we'll put it in the podcast notes.
Please,
Mark,
yeah.
just make
We'll
sure.
try to get him on too. It's
Yeah.
one we were just with Ron Moorhead, and he's got the quantum Bigfoot.
Those two talking is something that will eventually come up, because he's that science geek nerd that we need, who can understand it and break it down. But long story short, you see a Bigfoot. Why are there images and lots of stories of people saying, I saw it, and then it was like it just vanished, like literally phased out, like it's on Star Trek or something. And what I believe now is, yes, you have flesh and bone out there, and they do everything. So imagine our Earth, you know, as a giant game preserve, and it's filled with DNA. That's why graveyards are important. That's a DNA rich, you know, that's why you see these things there. It's why these orbs and spheres are there. They're monitoring this. And what happens is as these things walk off or we interact, we're not meant to, because we don't have steel bars in our zoo, you know, but what we have is technology. We have quantum tunneling now. China just came out with a drone that can cloak. Any of us that deep dive know that the government is at any point 40 to 100 years ahead of us technologically. Right. So it's out there. So it's not too far-fetched to believe that there are basically ancient advanced drones that just patrol. And sometimes they malfunction, sometimes you run into them. And if it can get between us and a Bigfoot, it just throws up a cloaking technology and it's gone. And I know that sounds like, for a lot of people, like wild to hear, but we have the technology to do that now. And why is it so far-fetched? You know, like why? And we have videos of these things. We have them in haunted houses. We have them in the sky. We have them in the woods. And I've actually been working with Patrick to say, okay, so let me take your ghost tech and let's use it in the woods. Yeah. And everywhere I use it, it gets weird. It comes to shut it down, because the theory behind it, right, is create an atomic light signature that's so out of place in the consumer market, like with us normies out here. Normie, that's another North Carolina one. that these spheres that are there to protect us come to check it out. So Erika, I give you this gift. This is why I'm not afraid to sleep in the Conjuring House basement or go down in the well to do an Estes method, is because they're here to protect us. Okay. There are so many forms of radiation in the world, and it's theorized that there are more that we're unaware of or we don't know of, which the government knows about. So what's happening in a haunted house? Okay, you go in and boom, that you're seeing shadow people, like there's scratches in the walls, there's all this stuff, and it's happening in this weird time, like between midnight and 4. I don't know why. That's broadcast time. So just switch your thinking. As an adult, I invite everyone listening to go back to that old VHS or beta tape that's in your head of why you're scared of being in a dark room by yourself. And I want you to remove that tape, and I want you to put in this new one. Whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. Just put in something that takes the fear away, that when that happens, it is not, and I'm going to say this now, I'm not saying demons and ghosts and all that are not real. I'm just saying that for me right now, what I believe is happening is this technology, this Foo Fighter, is about to broadcast the information, reporting on all the DNA in the area or whatever it does, and it needs you to move away because you will be hurt by it. That spontaneous combustion, I believe that was somebody was near it when it broadcast and it just vaporized them. So I guess what I'm saying is don't be afraid. It's literally using fear to motivate you to leave so that it can just do a silly job and then you can come back. And anyway, that changed my life. I'm not, if people are ready for it, but not afraid anymore. So now when you're in the woods and you see something and it phases out, or why do footprints all of a sudden just vanish? A trek, and I'm talking like, if it goes to a certain, like an incline, obviously they could climb the incline, but you'd find something, nothing. We're talking just straight in the snow to a pot, no trees around, gone. Yep. How is that possible? I believe it's all possible with technology. And that's what you're doing. So it's multi-layered. You got to find the beast, but you also have to elude the technology. So anyone that's going to go like squatching or ghost hunting, tell effing nobody, because you don't have to believe that the government is in on this or, the military knows about this, but they do. And they will protect it, because then you get into stories of fires once again, vans show up, take the Bigfoot away. It's known, like they know what's going on. And so we need to move in stealth. We need to move like the Squatch to figure these things out. Anyway, so that's what I think is really going on.
Well, and it's the Arthur C. Clarke quote. It's any technology significantly advanced is indistinguishable from magic. So that is
100%.
exactly what it is. So.
I think there's a lot of knowledge that we've lost.
Yes.
Things.
Yep.
Stuff that used to be generationally passed down. I mean, you used to have, Mark talks about it a little bit all the time in his books. And then I do have a question for you, but
sure.
He talks a lot about it in his books, that he talks to the Meemaws and the Peepaws who are trying to tell the stories of their land that their younger generation is just not interested in hearing. But I think if you go back to previous cultures and stuff, there was a generational knowledge that you got that had the spiritual things and the warnings that went with the spiritual things for what they were. And I think, to a degree that, like, mine isn't necessarily I'm afraid. I just go, I know what I'm going to experience when I go into this situation because of my perceptions.
Sure.
And I don't want to experience some of that, especially if they don't want me to be in that space for whatever reason, right? Mm-hmm. And I've had positive experiences and I've had negative experiences, right? Sure. It's a lot with not necessarily going, this is going to be bad, but I can tell you with the amount of energy people have put into something like the Conjuring House that is not great, and there's several places like that. It's true even like with the asylums and stuff like that. Outside of any entities that live there, it's like prisons. There's just been so much negative energy allocated, and it's just incredibly powerful, living or not living,
Yep.
But my question for you, because we need to talk about the event that you
have.
Yeah. But
yeah.
My question is, what would be the ultimate for you to have walk up and stand in front of you? Like, if you could pick any of the preternatural things that interest you, what would you, and not because you want to talk, blah, 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 but like, what would be the sort of like the holy grail of things that if you were sitting out in the forest, this thing walks up to you and sits down next to you?
Yeah, I would, as a broad, I would say a giant. You know,
Yeah.
I believe giants still walk this earth. It's just very rare now or very hard to come across. And what's wonderful about saying giant is, by all means, Bigfoot, skunk ape, whatever you want to call it, save, they're giants. And so, yeah, I've just invested so much of my time in this direction that I would love a solid, I say, class A sighting. Because I've seen, but it's been so quick, and you're like, could have been my eyes playing tricks on me. It
Yep.
really could have. And I'm open, and you know what I mean? And I worked on the finding Bigfoot for a while before anything happened, anything odd, and then when it did, I was like, oh, okay, we're onto something. But yeah, I would. Listen, my dream is to bridge the gap between our culture and theirs to help bring people back to nature and save us from doing what the dwarves did in Tolkien's worlds, which is dive too deep and destroy themselves with their own foolishness, And I think that's what's happening. It's like the world is so magical and so amazing, and yet we take it for granted. We're bored with it. We're bored. We don't even understand it all, and we're just bored. We'd rather watch TikTok videos. So yeah, that would be it. Because if I could do that, have that conversation, like I already speak passionately about it. I mean, if I could record it, that's another thing. Could you imagine that? Wow.
Oh yeah.
But you would see it on me. I'd be even more electric, and I'd have a message to bring back. But that's that crazy question. Do we want to find them, right? Do we want to? Because if you sit and really think about it, they're safer being considered a myth by the majority of the populace. They really are. That means most people won't go find them. There was a casino in Oklahoma, and this was it 94? But this was right when they started the internet and putting some things out. And they had a security camera on the back of it because something kept going in and getting in the oil trap, or the grease pit in the back. And so they put a camera up. And this thing was so tall, like almost 10 feet, it had to duck as it went under the camera and got in the grease trap. Well, so they're like, whoa. So they got the tape, and the dude that got it put it on the internet. That next night, what do you think all the hunters and people in the environment did? Dude, they showed up, they shot all the buffalo, all the dogs, cats, deer, anything with eye shine that they could see, they murdered. That is our first reaction. And if you were to even just take a little dive into Bigfoot, if they wanted to eat, kill, destroy us, no problem. Even if we were all standing there with guns, waiting, knowing they were going to come, no problem. But they don't. Why? Because do a little bit more dive into great apes. They don't want, they've got their life, and they want it. It's kind of like us. I want my life. I want the government to stay out of it. I want everyone to stay out of it. And I want us all to get along and kind of do what we can to live up harmoniously. So they're not going to hurt you. But it's kind of human nature. I don't know. We have knee-jerk reactions to things instead of approaching it with wonder, which is why we need an organization kind of like the Avengers, but it's the Paranormal Avengers, where when something happens, we're there immediately to help the people understand and deal with it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's would be wonderful. Oh, and I wanted to go back one thing that you said about, the fear and the conjuring stuff like that. It is very powerful, but love is more powerful than that. And you can change a story, and when you change that, you begin to change the frequency and the energy. They've done experiments with water and putting good thoughts into water, and it's these beautiful crystal forms and whatnot. And then when you put the hate and the anger into it, it morphs. And we're all made of water, right? I mean, it's basically water could be God. This is a water world. One of the things got me into, I'm sorry, I'll keep rambling. I apologize. But one of the things that got me into animal communication, which I think is really key. It's also very difficult for me because it's about sitting and being still. But there's this amazing story. Take this time, next time you go to the bathroom, that's when I do my best research, and look up Anna Brockenrich and Diablo the Panther, okay? Movies do two things. They alert us to kind of what could be in the world, and also kind of teach us to turn things off that they're make-believe. So Dr. Dolittle, I always grew up thinking, if I could be Dr. Dolittle, that's the greatest thing ever, to speak with animals. Well, you really can. And some people, like yourself, have a little bit more of a gift. But Anna Brockenrich, and I might be murdering the last name, I apologize. Basically, there was this panther named Diablo, and it went from a zoo to another place, and it was mean, like, I mean, mean, vicious. And it finally ended up with this guy who was considered like the Santa Claus of rescued animals. And even he couldn't get near it. This thing wouldn't come out of its cage, hissed and like at everybody, right? So they brought in Anna. And Anna sat there and just communicated with this cat. Now, to most people, that's Dr. Dolittle. That's bullshit. That's, it's crazy. What kind of psilocybin is she on? I want some. And she goes, okay, two things. One, when the cat was first caught, it was brought in the zoo, and it would like to know how the baby, I think it was an ocelot, but anyway, there was another cat there, how it's doing. And they're like, okay. So they called all these zoos to find that out. And they said this, and this is why it relates to the Conjuring House, a place of pure, unadulterated evil. How would you like it if every day and every time anyone ever thinks of you, they think devil? And what does that do to you on a biological level? Never mind in your mind and everything. Like, what does that do? So the cat said, I don't like my effing name, is basically what it said. Change it. And they were like, whoa, whoa. So they changed the name to Spirit. And after answering those two questions, you know what that cat did? And it's documented in video. It came out of its enclosure. It stopped hissing and everyone, and it just began to live like, the chill cat life. All because, mostly because they changed its name. So now the direct energy weapon that we're firing at it is now love, and it's at the love frequency as opposed to trying to make it a monster. So anyway, I just think there's a lot of power in our thoughts, especially when it's concentrated and focused. And the woman who bought the Conjuring House, she's going to turn it into a spiritual retreat. And at first I was like, oh, that's BS. It's going to ruin it for all the rest of us. But it's actually brilliant because it can be both. I think you can activate something and push it one way, and then you can push it back the other way. Anyway, sorry to ramble off there for a sec, but
No, it's great.
Fine. I appreciate
Power of
we'll
love.
put links to that as well in our podcast notes. But before we go, which we have to hear shortly, tell us about the event.
Oh yeah. So sorry. Yeah. So North Carolina Bigfoot Adventures. It's a new startup with Cheryl Peacock. You guys may have met her before. She's at all the major conferences. Bigfoot is something that has come into her life, and well, basically, since Finding Bigfoot came out, which changed a lot of us, she's been fascinated by it. And she lives, okay, so North Carolina, North Carolina it comes all the way down to that kind of almost little point. Well, what people may or may not know, that's Lower Appalachia, okay? That's almost the bottom. It goes down to Alabama. If some argue, even the oldest mountains in the world. Like, this is primal. When this country was first being founded, they called that area of this country South America. Like, it was, Cherokee, Bear, it's where you ran to hide, basically, if you were on the run from the law or whatnot. It is amazing habitat. And on top of that, so she's nestled. So you got the Great Smoky Mountains. I can never say the parks right. The Natahala. They're all Indian names. So sorry.
Right where we live. That's where Eric and I both are.
You live. It's heaven on earth, in my opinion. That is one of the places that is so wonderful and beautiful. But she's nestled right there at this little point. There are Bigfoot sightings all around. What people don't know, North Carolina has a plethora of high strangeness and Bigfoot sightings. Macon County right next door. What was his name? Carpenter. The BFRO guy. Yep. Who, he heard strange things in 2007. In 2009, he got like a partial sighting. In 2015, just going out, he saw one cross the road. Who else is there? Michael Freeman, the arguably the best, the second best or third best, thermal footage of Bigfoot ever, depending on which way you lean. I mean, this thing, yeah, you actually see it by multiple trees and then come out and, look around. And what was that, Mark? Was it a zigzag? What was the candy bar that he swears they all eat?
Zagnut.
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 I knew you'd know it. Yeah, the Zagnut. And he's been, okay, so what does he do? I get too excited. He was consistent in his research. He would keep going to the same place, and he keeps going and keeps trying. How did the other, what's his name, Freeman footage? Well, he did the same thing. He went to the same spot and waited and waited and waited and waited. There's something to that, right? You have
That's
to.
how wildlife photographers work. They learn the migratory patterns. They sit in the same spot for a month to get one picture of that one bird that comes there once a year. It's just that's how it happens.
But it's not rocket science, right? You just have to be able to spend the time to do it. So anyway, point is where she is in North Carolina is it's in the heart of darkness or the heart of light, whichever, depending on which way you want to look at it. And her land, she's sitting on 22 acres surrounded by tons of other acreage. She's got black bear coming through, deer. It's habitat, and it's all these. She even had like a family member that had a road sighting in the area. Like, it's awesome. But what's neat about it is, so you have the counties in North Carolina up here. They're more populated, so to speak. More people talking about it. Montgomery, I believe, is like the folk. They have tons of sightings there. But as you come down, it gets more rural, so people talk less.
Yeah.
So even though there is not a direct sighting right from Cherokee County, that's not to say that there hasn't been a lot of experiences there. It's just most people don't want to talk about these things.
Right.
They don't want to invite the shame game that everyone's so good at. But anyway, the area is magnificent. We're up on a hill overlooking all of it. We're going to hit some of the parks around. We're going to learn to cast. Like a lot of people, they've just never even just tried to cast prints. So one of the fun things we're going to do is we're just going to teach, like go out, let's just find bear and deer and whatnot, and let's just practice. Like it's like school that could be fun. Like it's everything I wanted that I never got, right? And on top of that, Adam Davies is going to be there. And if you haven't talked with Adam, he's the only person I'd put up against Mark to just talk, so I can just sit there like a kid and just enjoy it, like wow, wow, wow. No, he's amazing. He's a gentleman, and he's like a legit cryptozoologist in the sense where he's actually going to find evidence of things and bringing some of it back, which is so neat. And so in closing, we want to form a retreat for like-minded individuals to come, practice, share stories, and then also just sit in Congress with each other and kind of share that energy. And it's going to be open to everything, but at first we're going to start with just the basics, and people, please come, share your stories, but also your wisdom. There is no experiment that is too strange for us. We're open to anything, and we want people to know that it's love, right? This is shielded with love. There's no fear, there's no nothing. We want to keep what is it? An inclusive environment. Okay.
So how do people, if they want to sign up for this, where do they go?
Yeah. NC Bigfoot Adventures. It's on, I believe it's ncbigfootadventures.com. And then also on Facebook. You can look it up. You can find it through mine. You can find it through Cheryl Peacock. It's a hard one not to remember, Peacock. And yeah, we would love more people to go. And it's going to be my birthday. April 12th is my birthday, Yeah.
Yay!
So
No,
we're going to have even more fun. Yeah.
Super exciting. So I'm assuming this is something you're going to do more than once, like pay attention to it. So if you can't get to this one, there'll be future ones to do, correct?
And I'm saying this live now, but we would like you guys to come and be the headliners at some point. We think
would
that
be
would be
honored.
wonderful.
We were hoping that we were like, when's the next one? Because we're booked for this one, but we wanted to.
Yeah.
No, you'll have to let us know when the next one is. Because it's you, RPG. Because it's you, I will go out in camp for once.
What?
Awesome.
No,
awesome,
that's crazy.
I know, this is so weird, Mark.
Monumental. My heart is going, whoa, what?
So
good changes.
And I will trust the energy. I will go out and be a part of that.
Well, we'll see you five with that good energy.
You heard it here first, travelers. That's gonna happen. So,
and if you let us know enough in advance, we can let our travelers know. So if the travelers want to come join us out on the Bigfoot adventure, we will be out and about. But and we need to do an Outkast Paranormal, because I feel like that could be exciting.
Definitely down Florida way. We will definitely head back.
But I want to know nothing about the place before we go.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, with that, gang.
We have to RPG. How do people find you?
Oh, yes.
I'm, social media. I'm on Instagram. My name is Ryan Golembeske. Once again, like Peacock, Golembeske. There's only one other person I'm related to him, so you can't miss me. And please, friend request me and whatever. I'm always open to talk and conversations and whatnot. And I thank you in advance for sharing with me. I know these are very personal stories. But the goal always is to find someone who is cohabitating and picks up on my own love signal and says, here, come on out, they're here. And you want a real Class A sighting? Because I want to see what you do after you have your pure Class A sighting. Because I don't even know what I do. I might quit. After that, I might be
go out on top. I mean, there's a reason Gimlin just signs his
that intention out there. So when we come on your little thing, we're all sitting around a campfire making s'mores or something, and out walks our lovely friend just to come have a marshmallow and a Zagnut with us.
Old man of the woods comes out to have a Zagnut bar, and it's like, hey, you guys
North Carolina, it's a weird place. Wait, you guys are in North Carolina?
Yeah, we're both in Western North Carolina. We are literally an hour from that place. That's all. I was my God, we gotta have you on to talk about this.
I want to see your place sometime. You must be living in crazy habitat.
I live right on the Bartram trailhead, and I've got all kinds of stuff right near Pilgrim's Knob, and that's got a lot of sightings. That's where the gray Sasquatches have been seen and all that. The white fangs.
Is that the Boojum?
Top of a
mountain. The Boojum or the Boojum?
The Boojum.
Oh, the Boojum is my heart.
The Boojum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both have half mountains. I'm at the bottom of one. She's on the top of one. So.
Ah, I love you guys' lives. I love your
Yeah,
lives.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, you're more than welcome anytime. So, but
Absolutely.
because I've still got to make it to the top of my mountain, and my hiking days are a little behind me with my epilepsy, but we do our best. So, but anyway, with
Yes.
that, we will put all your information there in the show notes so everybody can find you. And more
Sure.
ahead, we will definitely have you back on to talk some more fun stuff. Erika, any last words before we wrap it up?
Oh, I'm excited for these adventures coming up for us and to have our travelers be a part of it. So I think that would be amazing because I know the people that listen to this podcast are
Yeah.
all about all these things. And I like how you phrased it. And so we will share all those things.
Big
I gotta
hug.
say it's a blast.
Virtual
Ryan.
hugs.
There's virtual hug. Oh my gosh. And thanks for letting Erika fanboy for the first time in a while. I haven't seen that. So that was great. With that, listeners, thank you so much for joining us for Alien April. We've had our first fun with that here, and we're going to continue that for the rest of the month. We've got, more Sasquatch. We got more fun stuff coming ahead. Please, as always, I'm not good at this. Like, share, subscribe. Please, we're enjoying this. Please join our Patreon and hang out on the Discord. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. We've got our book club. We've got our movie club. We've had a lot of fun, sharing stories and all that. We do our live listener tales episodes for that, so you can join in and chime in. And with that, gang, just visit eerietravels.com and enjoy the fun. And we will see you all as soon as we can. But we are going to, right now, set up a Zagnut bar. We're going to light our altar for a Sigerblatt, and we are going to celebrate the victory of love and kindness. And we're going to put that positive energy out there into the world. And with that, we will see you on the other side.